Thanks for tuning in to the Beyond Normal podcast, where we highlight minority business owners and founders, and we use this platform to shed light on their entrepreneur journey. Welcome everybody to another episode of the Beyond Normal podcast. We are things are rocking and rolling in our third season. Can't believe we're already on our third season here. We got an amazing founder. We're gonna be digging into the paths least traveled, right? And so when it comes to our own individual journeys, we got an amazing founder by the name of Rebekah Bastian. She has an amazing product called OwnTrail. But before we dig into that, just want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors over at Velour. Velour has been an amazing partner for us for this third season, not only this season, but they were, again, our sponsor for the second season as well. But for those of you who are not familiar with Velour offers independently owned handcrafted brands to wholesale buyers around the world. So when you want to get your product that's in your local markets to individuals around the world, again, we have a global market right now. Velour is your partner. So when you're thinking about importing, exporting, thinking in that space, don't just import it, but Velour it. Shout out to Brooke and her team. They've been amazing partners for us again. But I want to dig into our guest of honor today. Again, Rebekah Bastian. She is the founder of OwnTrail. They're doing some amazing things around the folks owning their own path through life and having a platform specifically for females to come and have dialogue and community around their individual journeys. Very impactful platform. But before I dig any further, I want to make sure that I bring Rebekah to the stage now. How's it going, Rebekah?
Hey, I'm good. Good to see you.
Yes, definitely. Appreciate you being on our platform. Again, folks, we'll be putting some things at the bottom of the screen for folks, while they're listening to this to actually engage with that OwnTrail platform and the brand that Rebekah has there. But, Rebekah, before we dig into things, I wanted to, give you a second just to kind of give folks a brief intro into that OwnTrail platform.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm excited to talk with you about it. So like you said, OwnTrail is a platform that it's centered on women, and it's a way for women to visualize and navigate our life paths. We do that by sharing trails, which are a view into really the authentic experiences that we have across our personal and professional lives, both where we've been, where we are, where we're going, in a way that's really deeper than what you might see on like LinkedIn or a resume for the career side, or like social media, where we're looking beyond kind of the picture perfect end results and really embracing the journeys that we're on and connecting and helping each other through those journeys.
Thanks for that brief intro there, Rebekah. We're going to dig more into the platform and your purpose around it, right? But I appreciate you setting the stage there. I want to take some time for you to just set the stage for folks, given your background, right, prior to starting OwnTrail. Some of the experiences that you had in your career, just in life in general, that led you to this point where you're now a founder.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so I guess career-wise, I spent 15 years before starting OwnTrail at Zillow. I was one of the first employees there and grew through my career to vice president of product. And then last couple of years there, I pivoted and became vice president of community and culture, which was really creating ways to create equitable opportunities for employees internally, and then leveraging that to create social impact through our products and our business. So really, professionally, my skills and my passions are really at that intersection of product strategy and social impact, which I've very much carried with me over to OwnTrail. And then, weaving in the personal parts of my life, which, a big premise with OwnTrail being that you can't cleanly separate out personal and professional. But I'm a mom. I have two boys. I live in Seattle, my husband and our dog. And I see myself really as kind of an artist and a creator in a lot of ways. I do aerial acrobatics. I do different forms of visual art. I'm a writer. It's actually a book that I wrote called Blaze Your Own Trail that led me to starting OwnTrail. And so I think creative outlets and making things out of nothing are a big part of what drives as well.
Thanks for that overview, Rebekah. Making things out of nothing, your creative side, that definitely speaks to, the founder journey, right? You're checking some of the boxes there just to show like why you have that knack for it. So I'm curious, it sounds like that community role at Zillow, gave you, it allowed you to kind of dip your toe in the water, right? In terms of some of the things that you're doing now. And I'm thinking about like entrepreneurship, right? Not just being an entrepreneur on your own, but definitely using using your corporate life to really enhance some of those skills and some of those interests for you. Was there anything in that role that you did that kind of, sparked and gave you the idea, okay, I'm proving a pain, I'm seeing a pain point, I'm seeing some sort of traction here. Maybe I should go out on my own and do this, or was it, outside of that, you having some of the interest there? I'm curious if that experience at Zillow kind of pushed you into entrepreneurship. So.
Yeah, I mean, I see all these experiences as being so additive, and I definitely feel like I'm in a place where like all the things I've done have really led up to this point. And I love that you named the entrepreneurship, because I think that, especially for those of us coming from corporate careers into startup life, like we do have an opportunity to flex that kind of entrepreneurial muscle sometimes by starting new things within an existing company. And I certainly did that several times over the course of my time at Zillow. And I think that prepared me more for entrepreneurship. I think also, I had gotten to know a lot of really incredible entrepreneurs and was an advisor to some really incredible women-founded companies. And that also gave me some insight and confidence in being able to take that leap myself. But, I think, especially you asked about like while in that community and culture role, I definitely experienced this kind of desire, both from employees and I think, from the company too, although not always perfectly aligned, around this idea of how do you show up authentically for work? And of course, that can be a loaded idea, because when you're in kind of these, essentially white normative spaces, then anyone who doesn't necessarily conform to the default social norms, it's really hard to show up authentically and still, have those same opportunities. But I think that there was that desire to really share who our full self is and really what our real authentic experiences are, but not always a place to do so. And I saw that, definitely on the corporate level, but then also just individually, like as I've talked to people for years and as I've been in different kind of leadership and mentorship roles, I've definitely seen this, this kind of trend of people feeling like they're supposed to know where they're going and how they're going to get there, and that there's supposed to be some right path and everyone else is nailing it, but I'm missing it, And I think so much of that comes from that dissonance of what we see on social media or what people talk about, or, versus what our real experiences are. And so I think a lot of that observation also led me to having the vision for OwnTrail. And then just to, in terms of practically how it happened was, like I mentioned, I'd written this book. So I actually didn't set out to start a company. I set out to write a book while doing my corporate executive job. And I wrote that book, Blaze Your Own Trail, which is this kind of choose your own adventure exploration of women's life paths. And after I'd signed with a publisher and was waiting for the book to come out, I started playing with what I thought would be a really cool book launch website. And that's what ended up kind of taking on a life of its own and becoming OwnTrail. So that's really what led me to pursue that.
Appreciate you giving us that rundown there. Like you said, the entrepreneurship, like that term is something that I know a lot of people don't hear, but leveraging some of the resources of some of these big corporations. You mentioned Zillow, your experience there. A lot of times they have some of these avenues in place. There's some of the big tech companies where they actually allow some of their employees to, have some time to actually explore, try different things. And so I think you leveraging your experience in that capacity to make something of your own. I think that's something that a lot of people can look to versus really starting cold turkey, right? And shutting off having a paycheck and then starting on your own. That's something that a lot of people cannot do. And so you touched on something there as well in terms of people bringing their authentic self to work and just into the communities and the conversations that they're having. When we think about some of the traditional platforms, right, you got your LinkedIn's, you got some of the other networking opportunities that are out there. You know, I have heard that from people in terms of, hey, there's this cookie cutter approach. You wear your suit and tie, you come in and you check the box on certain experiences. But in terms of bringing your whole self, like, what are some of the pieces I think that OwnTrail brings to the table? I asked you that. I think that's like a softball for you, right? But I think there's some cool things that you're allowing people to come to the table and tell around their whole self and telling their story.
Yeah, I love the question. It's like the vision really being like, how do we share our stories in a way that is looking at all the experiences that have made us who we are. I saw you were starting to share a picture of, I think, my trail there. If you want to show that again, and I can kind of speak to that. Yeah, so this is my trail on OwnTrail, and it really is. I think of it as the most authentic version of my life path in digital form. So this includes everything. It starts with you can kind of start wherever. I arbitrarily started with failing out of college, which is what happened the first time I went, and then it goes into different jobs I've done and education stuff. It goes into my relationship, trying to have kids and having kids, and a health issue that one of my kids had when he was a baby. Different promotions, different wins and accomplishments, but also like difficult things I've struggled through, and relationships that have brought me along the way. So it really is encompassed. And then I'm talking about like things I'm doing right now and where I aspire to go in the future. And so what we have is well over 1,000 trails on OwnTrail.com that women have shared. And it's this really intersectional array of women as well. So, we've been really thinking intersectionally from the beginning, because a lot of time, if you have a platform that's focused on women, it can end up not necessarily embracing all the different identities that women hold. And that's been really important to us. And so we have women that have just been sharing, trails that are authentic like this. And it's really incredible, because what happens is, as you see people sharing their real story, not the polished picture perfect version of it, but like really what they've been through, that inspires you to share yours too. And so we've seen actually the level of authenticity and the level of, essentially trust in terms of what people are sharing go up over time, as it has that kind of that flywheel effect of, vulnerability leading to more vulnerability. And it's really beautiful. And so women are connecting with each other around these shared experiences, and seeing people who, might be in a place that I'm in right now is something I'm navigating. Or maybe there's someone, just the power of seeing someone that looks like you in the place that you aspire to, and all the different paths that they might have taken to get there is so powerful in terms of what it can do for both solidarity and confidence, and just our ability to move forward, lifting each other up.
Yeah, I when I first logged into this site, Rebekah, I was really blown away by just the way you really laid it out, even with the the down to the squiggly lines, right? There's this idea like a career, just some of the experience we have in life, is this straight linear approach, and you taking that and just showing like, hey, I'm taking my own path, right? This journey that I'm making my own. I'm taking lefts, I'm taking rights, I'm taking U-turns, like I'm figuring things out. I thought that was really cool about the platform, and then just the scope of the different activities and just the accomplishment that are out there. I thought that was really something that really stood out to me, and I could tell, like you said, it seems like there's some traction around that in terms of user engagement as well. But that was really cool and really slick. So I must definitely commend you on putting that into practice. And
Thank
so,
you so much. Yeah, I mean, we have.
Got it, Rebekah. Sorry to cut you off. I want to make sure that I want to keep this up here for a little bit for folks to digest. Again, if you want to tap in, do something, while you're listening to this conversation, OwnTrail.com, you can tap right in and really see the site, see the platform in action. But one of the things, I guess, bottom left corner, right, is around some of the brands that you connect with, some of the organizations. Tell me why that was a specific request for folks to really be able to connect and show the brands that they really relate to.
Yeah, so it's really the fact that there are so many different really incredible organizations out there that are supporting women through different facets of our lives, different stages, different identities, and different industries. And so, what we love about that is it's a very yes and kind of a space. And so like when we look at, kind of the competitive landscape out there, we don't actually see it as competitive. We see it as like, how do we all work together? And what we're able to offer with OwnTrail is that, we are inherently a tech and a data-driven company that is building really strong community around the, essentially the data of women sharing their life journeys, which I will mention we take incredibly seriously from a privacy and giving women agency over how it's handled perspective. But what we're able to do is create this space for different organizations supporting women to have their members share their trails. And then for these partner organizations, you can filter down and see all the trails of their members. And so it's a great way for their members to connect with each other over shared experiences and better understand, what their lives really look like. And then it's a great way for all of us to be growing because we can amplify each other's work and reach new people that way.
I like that. I like that a lot. And, even, some of the brands that you had up there, we've had some conversations, obviously Awesome Women. We had Olivia up here, our sponsors, they've spoken greatly of that organization. But just to see the different organizations, and like you said, it keeps the conversation going. People can connect and that dialogue, and people learn the different avenues that are out there because, there's always, that 6 degrees of separation. There's always that one or two connections that can be made to broaden your horizon and really, allow you to have enriching conversations. So I thought that was really, I'm not sure if it was something particular that you focused on, Rebekah, but the fact that you had it in there, it really, that was something that, again, that really spoke out to me. The site is clean for folks who want to tap into it, owntrail.com. You can tap in, start engaging right now. I went through the process myself. I know I'm not the audience, but just to see how the experience was, very slick process. I probably was set up in 5 minutes or less, and I was, engaging, right, seeing the people's comments and looking at, I started with your journey, Rebekah, and it just showed me so much around what you've been through, even to the point where I know you touched on this a little bit earlier around people focusing on what their goals are, but you've kind of broken it down some into different buckets that people can put it into in terms of the past, present, and then ultimately some of the places that they want to go. Why was it important? This just popped up in my head, but why was it important for you to break things down that way and really have that opportunity bucket for folks, so people can, showcase some of that, what my North Star is in terms of where I want to go?
Yeah, well, so the way that we've been building OwnTrail from the very beginning before we even launched is we see it as a very community-driven platform. So we don't see ourselves as building for our community so much as building with them. And what that means is that we take a lot of feedback and ideas from the members of our community. We forge really, we try to make as many connections as we can so that we have that two-way conversation going. So that is all to say that when we first launched OwnTrail, which was February 2020, we launched with only past milestones. So it was only the ability to share where you've been. And what we learned from the women we talked to is that they wanted to share their aspirations as well, that was kind of part of the story as they're kind of putting it out there. And especially because this is such, sharing your trail is such a strong way of visualizing. And I think, when you think about goals and aspirations, visualization is a great tool for working towards them and really putting out into the world. So we added aspirational milestones a few months after we launched. And I would say definitely the majority of trails have them now. And then we actually just added present tense milestones a few months ago. And I'll give you and your listeners a little preview into what the thinking is that kind of a flagship feature that really takes the OwnTrail experience from inspiration into action of women being able to give and get help on the different milestones that they're currently experiencing and working towards. And so in order to, and those asks for help and those abilities to help each other are tied to milestones on our trail. And so the present tense milestones are really saying like, this is a thing I'm going through right now. It hasn't already happened and it's not necessarily something I'm aspiring to. And sometimes it's not even, sometimes it's something difficult or sometimes it's something great, but being able to put that there in the present tense in order to be getting help on the things that we're navigating at the moment is really the vision of that.
As you were talking about that, again, just the deliberateness of you building out, for things that are past, present, and then ultimately some of those opportunities, right? Just allowing them their own space to breathe and for folks to really own them. Again, I haven't really, it's almost like you're reimagining like what the resume is, right? We think of the resume, hey, keep it 1 or 2 pages, Arial font, like it doesn't really speak to, hey, how do I creatively, right, lay out, my journey. And I think a platform like yours definitely brings the resume into the 21st century, where people have been saying that we need a modern version of that. And so as you were laying that out, I was visualizing, right, the manifestation of modern day resumes and where they're headed moving forward.
Yeah, I think I really hope that does happen. And when you think about kind of the current trend of like the Great Resignation, where people are really like leaving careers that don't serve them, or that and really sticking to their values. And I think one of those values is like, I want to work for a place that embraces everything that I am, and where I don't have to compartmentalize or try to fit into these boxes, right? And I think the more that people, the more that employees are saying, this is how I want to be seen, like that should start from the very beginning when you start interviewing, right? And then like having jobs where you enter that new job with really being understood and embraced for who you are and your full experiences seems like such a powerful kind of component of what we talk about as like the future of work. And so I would love to see that.
Yes, and speaking of that Great Resignation, it is happening as we speak, right? With people really saying, you know what, maybe I'll take a gamble on myself. I believe in my skills. I'll go back to corporate America, maybe, or I may start my own, right? And you're in that space where you're starting your own business. So I got to ask you, right? This is something we ask a lot of founders on our platform in terms of how that experience has been. But I want you to give me one thing that has been the not the hardest, but maybe one of the experiences that you learned from the most. That one experience that you could take, right? If you could hop in a time machine, go back in time, and tell yourself, hey, you better watch out for this, right? That one experience in that regard. And then I'm going to add on the back end of it, what's been the easiest thing? What's been the easiest transition as you've switched to being a full-time founder?
Okay, well, let's see. I'm going to go easiest first, which is that I think I'm made for this startup lifestyle. I love it, and I love being able to just speak my mind as the CEO of a company. It's like we can stand for our values and speak up about the things that are important to us. And there's not rules or restrictions around what we can say or trying to play it right. It's like we are a completely values-driven company, and we can put that out there and build and grow in the way that we want to. I love that. And I love the team that we have. My co-founder, Katie, and our whole team is just so phenomenal that it's just really fun being able to collaborate together in that way. Fundraising sucks, in terms of the hard part, but it's not the kind of thing that I would say, like, I want to do this over. And in fact, I'm really glad that it's been as hard as it's been for me. And well, I mean, it'd be nice if it was easier. But the reason that it's been particularly hard is that, like, I have not been willing to compromise on values. And that includes, like, we're not going to build this in a growth at all cost way. So we need investors that support us in that. We're not going to compromise on having an incredibly diverse cap table, because the community that we're building for is incredibly diverse, and we need that to be reflected. And we want to be putting money back into the pockets of different people than are, currently benefiting from all the cycles of wealth out there. So, there's been some non-negotiables that definitely make it more work. But where we're at so far is we've been able to raise over $1 million now from, completely value aligned and very diverse set of investors. And so it's been hard, but I wouldn't do it differently. But just naming it, like, I think, you can come to the table to build a startup with a lot of skills that you need and form an incredible team to get the job done. But when you're relying on, financial institutions that kind of are part of the system that you're working to rebuild, it just adds a level of complexity there.
Thanks for that honesty there, Rebekah. We've heard a lot of people talk about raising capital, and like you said, fundraising, like that is a full-time job in itself. And you touched on something there, like, making sure that you're not sacrificing on your values on what the core that you want your business to be. And so as you're having these kinds of conversations, like, what are some of like, how do you feel out somebody who's coming to you maybe with a blank check, maybe with, 100,000, $1 million? Like, how do you go about filling out to see how they align with your brand, with your core values for OwnTrail?
It's nice because, in terms of values, like that's pretty self-selecting or self-filtering, which is that when I share our vision for OwnTrail and how we're building it and why, and, and all of that, like people that get it kind of move past the initial conversations and we keep going deeper, right? And the people who, who don't understand the why, or who are like, well, why don't you just, you're getting all this incredible data, you can sell advertising against it or stuff like that. It's like, no, we're not going to do that. And, I think it susses itself out pretty early on if your values align or not, just based on like questions that get asked and the answers you provide. And I think whenever you're fundraising, it's really like, us kind of essentially interviewing for seats on our cap table, and them, interviewing for where they want to put their money. And it needs to be kind of a mutually value aligned decision. And so it's kind of worked out that way, I think.
Not bad. And so we actually had Brooke chime in. OwnTrail seems very interesting. Agree with you there, Brooke. How do you make money from it? And you just kind of you kind of just started to elaborate on that, Rebekah, where people are coming to you around, hey, why don't you sell ads? Why didn't you do some of the traditional ways that you can make money? So in your current blueprint and your current roadmap, like, what does that path to making money look like?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. My co-founder and I we had this conversation from the beginning. Like, we will never sell people to advertisers because that turns the community members into the commodity. And that's exactly what leads to, all those toxic dynamics that exist on social media now. So so the way we make money is we have this program called Trail Guides. And OwnTrail is free to everybody to use to share your trail and connect with each other. And then the Trail Guides programming, which is about an hour a week, we do alternating between personal reflection activities that you do yourself, and then group discussions that kind of discussing what you kind of got out of that last activity. It's $10 a month, and women sign up for that. And then it's just a deeper way to be really reflecting on your trail and connecting with each other. And we have a lot of visions for how we're going to keep kind of growing out the programming and the offerings in the future as we scale. But we're very clear about the way we make money is opt-in by our community members. So if people want to be paying us for something that they find value in, then that's the way we want to grow. And we believe we'll be a very large, profitable business because of that. But women have all the agency, both over how you're sharing, what you're sharing on OwnTrail, but also what you're paying for and what you're finding value in. So that's, one way that we've been able to create a business model that's really in line with the values that we hold.
Yes, thanks for that clarity there, though. From you, Rebekah. That's always when it comes to a community-driven platform, they say, hey, build the community first, and then the product and all the money kind of comes along with it, right? And what you're really speaking to is you're being very deliberate, right? You're putting pieces in place, and there is a component of your business, there is a piece of your product, right, that people can tap into and buy. But I think having that core product, that core trail, that journey piece, having it free for people to just dive into, I definitely think that's a game changer there. And like you said, the money will figure itself out when that community is whole and people are really engaging and getting what they need to from it. It's a little bit outside of the normal frame of mind for people when it comes to, okay, you got to have a business, right? You got to have money coming in first, right? But if you don't have any proof of concept and anything like that, you're not. The money may come one day, but the next day and the next day after that, you're not going to have any, right? And so that community first aspect, I see it at the forefront of a lot of businesses that are being created right now. So many founders that come on our platform speak to that community first, and I think you're really reinforcing that with what you're doing with OwnTrail.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I really do think that community is the future of everything that ends up being impactful and successful.
Got it. I'm curious. Has there been any these questions that are coming up. Appreciate Brooke asking that question, but just the way that you're breaking down your business, you're really transparent. I love that. Has there been any have there been any individuals that have kind of taken this trail from OwnTrail and really used it in career conversations yet? I'm curious because when I initially saw this, again, I'm going back to the resume of the future. I could see somebody essentially slapping this in front of, a hiring manager, right, in an interview, or, for career conversations when you're already internally in the company and really showing, here's the real me. Have you had any conversations around that, or have any of the users kind of gone down that path yet?
Yeah, we've heard some great stories about that. Women that share their trail as part of kind of, applying for a job, women that share their trail with their manager or their colleagues as a way of like getting to know them more. Talk is kind of like the intro, or putting it in their email signature as the about me kind of thing, like learn more about me. So I love seeing them. And then we see a lot of people sharing on different social platforms too, because it's, it really is this way of saying, in a nutshell, this is who I really am. And it's so nice to be able to put that out there. Like whenever I meet new people, I always send them my trail first. Obviously, I'm the CEO, so that's not overly surprising for me. But I love how it just cuts through the initial kind of get to know you conversation. And then when we talk, it's like, okay, so tell me more about this particular milestone. I really want to dig into this. And so, instead of telling the same story over and over again about this is my journey or whatever, it's like, this is it. And we can really get to know each other quickly in a really deep and authentic way. So I love seeing that. Another story we've heard many times, and this actually has come more from the Trail Guides program that I mentioned, the paid programming, where women are really going deep with each other on their life paths. But we've seen several women change their aspirations based on the reflection and the discussions they've had around their paths. And so we've seen women like switch jobs, like do big pivots, or like, make big kind of life changes based on sometimes just having that space to reflect when you've been on autopilot for so long, like you kind of assume this is where you're going. You've been working on it for so long that you still think, yeah, this is what I'm working towards. And then when you take a step back and you really give yourself that space to go deep and reflect on who you are and really where you want to be going with your journey, it can change direction significantly. And it's really cool to see the power of that happening within the programming that we're providing.
I love it. I love it. You just touched on something there around, like this, like somebody essentially looking at your trail and then something sparking from it, right? And so as I was looking through your trail previously, I did take a note. I saw you got a pandemic puppy.
Yeah, Charlie.
Right. And so what kind of dog did you get?
He's a golden doodle. He might book in here behind me at any moment. Actually, we'll see.
Got it.
He's great. Yeah, that's been pretty fun. I got a pandemic puppy, and I don't think I added this as a milestone, but I also got a pandemic camper van because I stopped commuting into my corporate job at the same time as the pandemic started. So I sold my practical commuter car, and I got a Euro van, like the old kind that has the pop top, and we're actually about to head out later this afternoon on our last camping trip of the summer. But those two decisions have been pretty fun.
Yes, I would have never known that from a resume for those folks that are listening in. That probably would have never came up during the interview or any dialogue that we would have, right? If we're having dialogue for stuff. And so, having those little pieces there, around, your journey, it just allows me to dig. I asked on the pets. I'm digging so much. I'm seeing more and more people that are getting pets as extensions of their family, and people right now are spending so much money on their animals. So I'm always interested to see when people say that they've got a 4-legged addition to their family. So that's awesome.
Yeah. Do you have any pets?
No, I do not. I can. I do know from the people that have told me they've gotten pets through the pandemic. Getting used to it's almost like having a kid, right?
It is
in terms of
work,
picking up, and so no, I don't have a pet.
It's to be intentional about that. My kids had already broken me down enough that what's one more living creature depending on me. But
good point. Good point. Yeah. So we've definitely just touched on a lot. I want to switch a little bit around. Some of the conversations that have happened during the pandemic have been around inequality. Even in the space of just females in general, we're seeing when it comes to female-backed businesses, they're not getting the right amount of funding. Right, when we look at what percent of the population is female versus what percentage of investments and things like that are falling into female-funded businesses. So along with that, all the stuff that's in the news right now, right? But I'm curious for you, what has been is there anything that's like a kind of a silver lining that's come from the conversation that you're seeing on your platform and just across your network in terms of female equality and I specifically think about investments in the business space, making sure that there's equity there. But if there's anything else that you feel like we've gained some ground on and the dialogue has been good towards, I would definitely like your perspective on that.
Yeah, no, I mean it's a tough landscape. I don't think I realized just you kind of see the numbers, but as I've had my own experiences with fundraising, but also just gotten to know a lot of founders and a lot of women founders, a lot of founders of color, a lot of women of color. It's like there's some real biases out there that are just absurd. Like I just know so many talented founders that have such a hard time just kind of breaking into the venture ecosystem, and it sucks. I also know there's some good investors out there. I think there's some people that are really trying to change that, but so the silver linings are, I think, so on OwnTrail, we have a really high, I think like close to 40% of trails are women who either have started a business or aspire to start a business. So I love seeing that entrepreneurial energy alive in this community of women. That's really positive, and women supporting each other through that. A couple of our investors actually came from the OwnTrail community, which is also a lovely thing about community-driven. These are people who wrote their first angel checks because they aspired to be angel investors, and they saw the opportunity to do so with this platform that they're already using. So those are definitely heartwarming stories, and we hope to make them very successful because of those investments. And I think just, women supporting women, founders supporting founders. I also have this community that I started called Authentic that is men and women that are building and everything in between, that are building companies that are really values driven and people centered, and kind of like we've been talking about, like how we're building OwnTrail. I started talking about this idea of Authentic as kind of a different box to check because I felt like as we were applying for funding and talking with all these different investors, there's these boxes of like, what type of company are you? And I just didn't really feel like we fit into any of them cleanly. In fact, probably the closest model was social media, which we really see ourselves as being like the antithesis of social media. So don't want to check that one. Anyway, I wrote a Forbes article about it because I write in Forbes, and started talking about this idea of Authentic, and all these founders have raised their hands saying they identify with it. And we have a Slack channel of, I think, 125 founders now. And it's people that are like really, really supporting each other through experiences and just moral support and connections. And so, things like that, where that's the silver lining is, yes, there's a lot of us that, based on our identities of the type of companies we're building, or both are, have a harder time breaking into some of the existing systems. But the way that we rise to support each other is really, really cool. And I think that, that level of community and support is something that I wouldn't necessarily trade for any like really easy path in this space, because it's huge.
Like you said, we are seeing the folks who really want to support, be advocates, and just be players in that space and have that dialogue. Right now, we are seeing the folks who really want to do it come to the spotlight, and then the ones that are kind of maybe all talk but don't know how to walk the walk. There's those folks as well. But as the community grows and that dialogue happens, like people start to figure out like who is who, right, and who you need to start having the conversations with. And I think, there's always going to be room to grow there. There's always going to be opportunity. The numbers speak to that. They'll probably speak to that for a while. But it's really how folks are, how individuals are making the most of the situation. And I think you mapping out what you're doing with OwnTrail, the way that you are, you're helping the conversation along with that authentic, right? Because building your way and really coming into this new space that we're all in, where I feel like everybody's using tech right now. Like everybody's going to have that component to their business, but really being able to come into it in your own is going to be big for a lot of people. I think that's going to be what draws people into making, the cool side of being, owning your own business, owning your, creating your own team, being a part of a startup. We got some room to go to make it cool for folks, right? Because right now the numbers, and when you dig into it too much, I try not to throw out too many numbers, and to because the reality of it is, we got a lot of room to grow, but at the same time, stories like yours and then platforms like yours really make sure that people's stories are put in the right light for people to see and really say, oh, I can relate to that, right? I've had a similar experience, right? Let me go ahead and connect with that person. Like, there's so many founders. Just so folks know, like, I am actually leveraging your platform. There's so many founders up there with incredible stories that I want to make sure that we get on future episodes. Yeah. And so you're really feeding like the ecosystem and just us having this conversation and agreeing to connect, that shows how things are going to grow. It's organic too, which I love.
Yeah, we've been growing 100% organically so far. My co-founder Katie is brilliant at really authentic organic growth. So it's been all word of mouth, and it's been all just people letting each other know about OwnTrail and sharing their paths in different ways. So
awesome.
Yeah.
And so next up we have a sponsored question again brought to you by our partners at Velour. Again, don't just import it, but Velour it. For those folks who are looking to take their products worldwide, Velour is your partner there. But we have a sponsored question for this season. We asked every founder, our partners helped us come up with this in terms of world domination, right? We all want our businesses to be doing the best, right? Put your pinky out like that, evil world domination, whatever, however you want to phrase it. But for you and OwnTrail, what does world domination look like for you over the next year? Or even if you had that North Star over the long term, 5-10 years out, what does it look like for you and your team, Rebekah?
Yeah, I mean, it's major systemic change is what it looks like, because there's this ripple effect that happens both as women are able to authentically share their stories and lift ourselves and each other up. And that coupled with the data in aggregate that we're able to put out into the world about what women's lives really look like from an intersectional standpoint. Like, what are the real experiences that we're navigating, and the way that data can then change belief systems and change decision-making, and the way that women can have an impact as they navigate their life with more confidence and more support in their corner to really go after their dreams. Like, I mean, to put it kind of tongue-in-cheek simply, we can smash the patriarchy in a way that really benefits everybody, right? That benefits all genders, because there's so much toxicity in current systems that exist, and we really seek to change that. So world domination is actually not evil at all. It's an incredibly positive outcome that we're working towards.
I love it. I love the at the end, the exclamation point, major systemic change, smash the patriarchy.
Taking notes, nice.
Yes, I'm taking notes. I'm taking notes over here, Rebekah, but I definitely love that. And that's a North Star, like you having those kinds of goals that are lofty, they're big. Right? There's a lot to chew there. There's a lot to digest. I can tell you're definitely making sure that you're going to be busy for the foreseeable future, right? And that's cool. Brooke chiming in, elbow call. Brooke is on board with all of that. Okay, that's what that means right there. Yes,
let's do it.
But again, I appreciate you elaborating on that sponsor question there. That one is always going to be, it's interesting to see what certain founders say. Some founders, they got that North Star in terms of that dollar amount, right? But for yours, it really speaks to the community and making sure that you have that lofty impact, right? It goes beyond the dollar amount, like you said, for your business, like in terms of how much money you're bringing in, right? That is a component of it, but
it's a result of it, right?
Yeah, it's a result of it.
It's like, yeah, they can both be kind of similar places. Like if you're driven by profit and revenue, you make certain decisions, right? But like if you're driven by creating value, profit and revenue are going to follow that, but you make different decisions to get to really creating value than you would if all you're looking at is the bottom line, right? And so, when I talk about the end result, it's about the impact that we're going to have. And yes, we're going to be an incredibly successful company because of that. And I also have, big dreams about how I will be reinvesting that because, that's part of, the financial piece is a huge part of the systemic change as well. But it's thinking about the value that we're creating before thinking about profit that we're making.
Got it. So, I want to make sure before I pass it to you, to let folks know how they can connect with the brand. I just want to say, appreciate you for, connecting and, having this conversation today. I'm over here taking a lot of notes. One of the things that you said in the beginning that I don't want to be lost on people is building with your community, not for them. And I think that's really something that's central to a lot of the businesses that I myself and even you, Rebekah, because I know you connect with a lot of founders. We're seeing that every single day in terms of just being in the trenches with them, not necessarily saying, hey, let's do this product for them, like really being in there, being in tune with your audience, seeing what the feedback is. And so that was the first gem that you dropped. I think you dropped that within like the first 5 to 10 minutes there, Rebekah. You dropped a couple throughout. But I want to make, leave some room for folks to actually tap into the audio and the video and make sure that they take their own notes as well. But, I want to pass it to you. Let folks know how they can connect with the OwnTrail brand, stay in tune, and stay in contact to know all the things that you're working on, like you mentioned, Authentic, along with OwnTrail.
Yeah, definitely. Well, so for OwnTrail, I would love anyone who feels comfortable in a space centered on women to share your trails on OwnTrail and invite all the other inspiring women that to do the same. Like I mentioned, we're growing organically through word of mouth, and so love to see those trails. And then from there, connecting with each other and really finding ways to be supporting each other in that community. OwnTrail and myself are on all the different social platforms as well. And then Authentic, we have a website, buildingauthentic.com, that if you are building a company that you identify as being authentic, you can join that community there. And I send out a monthly deal flow of authentic raises to a group of investors too. So hit me up if you want to be a recipient of that. But yeah, I'm pretty findable. Definitely connecting with me on OwnTrail is the ideal way, but you can reach me in a lot of places.
I love that you're pushing them to OwnTrail.
Yeah.
like I've been saying throughout, just tapping into you're tapping on your own trail, Rebekah. You've done a great job with just really laying out, what your experiences have been. Rebekah's got some incredible experiences. When it comes to writing, I know you caught on to writing later on in your life, but just that piece there, your family, everything. Rebekah it has really laid everything out on her platform. So definitely make sure you tap in with owntrail.com. Again, I just want to thank you. In closing, I want to pass it to you one last time. Is there anything you want to leave our audience with? You dropped gem after gem, but what's that lasting thought you want people to take from this conversation here?
Yeah, I think the big message through all of this is that there is no one right path. And so, just embracing who you are, how you've gotten here, and where you're going on your own terms is what I would leave everybody with.
Short and sweet. So again, check out OwnTrail.com. Again, it was a pleasure having Rebekah on our platform today. Make sure you tap in, share this video. We'll be on streaming sites as well. Make sure you share it when you're listening up there. It's been amazing having her on. Shout out to our partners over at Velour. Again, they've been amazing partners this whole time. Curating this list of founders. Rebekah is just the latest in the line of founders, but I think even, again, I'll just reiterate me going on OwnTrail.com. I probably got another 10 to 20 founders I can definitely reach out to have on the platform who are doing amazing things. But in closing, I just want to say, thanks for tuning in to the Beyond Normal podcast. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to the Beyond Normal podcast. We can be streamed across all major streaming platforms in addition to YouTube. Come back again.